Hello and welcome back to Roam Your Roots. In this video, we are continuing the Swedish genealogy series. I am going to show you how you can find a locality in Sweden using our little friend Kartbild. Now, if you've started your Swedish genealogy research, you've probably come across a lot of places in the household examination records that aren't exactly easy to find. A lot of these places in the household examination records are not going to be on Google Maps. You're not going to be able to type in the name and go directly to that spot. But that doesn't mean that you have to settle for just a broad location or a broader parish. I'm going to show you how you can find the exact locality where your Swedish ancestors are from using Kartbild. Now, Kartbild is a tool that I've explored in some of my past videos, so if you haven't watched those videos yet, I highly recommend you go and watch those now. I'll link them down below. Because again, this is just one video in a series of Swedish genealogy videos. And on that note, if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, why don't you go hit that subscribe button? That way you'll be notified of all the new genealogy tutorials I post. I post genealogy tutorials for Swedish genealogy, Irish genealogy, American genealogy, also genealogy travel vlogs. If any of this speaks to you, subscribe to this channel. Now, without further ado, let's look at some Swedish maps. Okay, here is my great-great-great-grandfather, Peter, born in 1817. Here he is at 3 years old, living in 1820 in Lindholt in the parish of Pietryd. And Lindholt doesn't come up on Google Maps. I can show you. So here's Pietryd. It's just south of Ljungby. Some people might recognize that as a slightly larger town. So Pietryd is actually the parish that he's from, and he was specifically from Lindholt. Now I googled Pietryd because I know Lindholt should be around it, but you can see if I put in Lindholt, well, a bunch of things come up, but not the one we want. So the first one is way over here. That's not where he lived. If we go back to Pietryd, or let's just do the next Lindholt. Right there. Let's try again. Random. What about this one? That's the general area. So this is not the Lindholt we want. I know it was in Pietryd parish. So it just doesn't come up on Google Maps. It's not a place that Google recognizes exists anymore. So this is a perfect example of when Kartbild comes in handy. So the first thing that we're going to do is get the coordinates for Pietryd so we could go directly there on Kartbild. And I showed you how to do this in my last video. That was one of the tools that Kartbild had. So we are going to get the coordinates of this. There we go. And let's go to Kartbild. Here we are. And if you need an explanation as to how to use this, I did a whole video on that. You're gonna wanna watch that video first because I'm just gonna fly through this as an example. This is really a follow-up video to my first video where I explained this whole program. So go watch that video, I'll link it above. So let's go over to Ekokarta. I explained that was the best one to use, and let's go straight to Pietryd. So go to, paste the coordinates. Okay, and we are flying, and there we are, Pietryd. So let's zoom out. Oh, I love it. I will never get tired of how amazing this whole system is. So the next thing that you're gonna want to do, I mean, you could just look around here and look for names that you recognize, but we're here to think smarter, not harder, right? So let's go back to the household examination book. And here's Lindholt. You are going to want to go to the previous and next pages to see what other towns are around it. So let's go to the next page and just find the next town that's listed because we know that Lindholt is going to be close to that town. That's still Lindholt, Finnholt. So Lindholt and Finnholt are close to each other. So we are going to go back to Kartbild, and you know what? Actually, that's not what we're going to do. Smarter, not harder, right? I was going to say look for, now we can look for both Finnholt and Lindholt here, but That still is working harder and not smarter. We're gonna go back to Google Maps and see if Finnholt comes up. Is this one close to Pieterud? It is. It is. Look at that. This is the Finnholt. So we know that Lindholt and Finnholt are close to one another, but even if I zoom in around Finnholt here, there still is no Lindholt. It's not here. So I know I can grab the exact coordinates of Finnholt, go back to Kartbild, go directly to Finnholt and look for Lindholt there. Zoom out a little bit. Here's Finnholt, and would you look at that? Here is Lindholt. It doesn't even come up as a place on Google Maps, but there it is, Lindholt, just south of Finnholt. And that was incredibly easy to find. Now, obviously, I got lucky with Finnholt on Google Maps. You might have to go through a number of pages until you find a locality that is actually Googleable. Another cool thing that you can do is look at this on a modern map. Now, you might be thinking, what the heck is this? What am I looking at? I don't know the scale. I don't know if this is a whole city, if this is the size of one house. I don't know what I'm looking at. So something you can do that I explained in my last video is do this split screen. And here you have two types of maps. Obviously you want to set one back to Echo Karta, what we were just looking at. So there's Lindholt. And here is the satellite map, a modern satellite map. So you can now scroll between and look how amazingly accurate that is. This house up here on the satellite map is perfectly positioned where this tiny little gray square is. So I know now that my ancestor, when he was 3 years old in 1820, that's 200 years ago, lived somewhere here. Echo Karta was actually published in the 20th century, between 1935 to 1978, I think it says on the info page. So what we're looking at now was actually as recent as the 20th century, and obviously these little houses still exist in real life. It's just not a large enough village or locality to show up on Google Maps. Now, if we went to Google Maps and we did a satellite view, obviously these houses would still show up. They are these two little houses here, and if we click on them, it actually says Lindholt. But Lindholt is just not a big enough locality to show up when you Google it or to show up on the map. So there you have it. That is how you can find very specific Swedish localities using Kartbild. Click that like button, click that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Or maybe I should say, tack så mycket.